Welcome to the Predictive Playbook. I'm your host, John Ryan, here at Manny's Pub with my co-host, Rob Vino. Tony Finn may show up, may not. It's probably 50-50 there. And we have a debut today, second day in a row. We're bringing on the best of the best guys that we can get on this show. And welcome to the show, Greg. He's founder of G-Dog Sports. As you can see on the screen there, it's how you reach him at Twitter. And thanks for being on the show, Greg. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, happy to be here.
Now, we're going to go right into it here. We're going to get right into the nuts and bolts here. And we're going to talk about the NBA. And here's my good old NBA angle of the day. And what we're going to do is bet on a home team. Betting lines within 3.5 points on your side of pick. That means 3.5-point favorite to a 3.5-point dog. The host is facing an opponent that is an elite team, outscoring their opponents by at least 6 points per game. And that elite guest is coming off 3 consecutive games, allowing 105 or more points in each one. 10 seasons, 34-12, 36-10 against the spread for 76%. And then to reflect the increase in NBA scoring, which has averaged 111 over the last 3 seasons, it soars to 24-6 against the spread for 80%. Is that me?
It's pretty good.
I just heard a buzz. Was that me or?
Yeah, it sounds like it could be, John. I don't know. I'm hearing it, but I know it's not on my end.
Yeah, now I don't barely hear it.
There it is.
Huh. I muted the mic.
Oh, there you go. It's gone.
Right. I just muted Greg.
Oh,
Greg, I think it's your mic.
It's my mic?
I think, yep. Because I just muted you and, yeah. It's definitely, your mic is creating a bit of a vibration of the headset.
Okay. Let me try something.
Technology today, you would think it's perfect, but it's not.
No.
Worst comes to shove, he can just mute his mic, and then when he wants to talk, he can unmute it. It shouldn't be too bad. But Rob, do you like to play in the Sixers tonight or not?
Well, I have to know if everybody's going. I mean, there are so many. I'm going to try and talk over the humming noise, John. Oh, there it goes. It's gone again.
Yeah, I'll mute his audio, and Greg, you can still hear me, right? I think yeah. Hopefully you can hear me. Go ahead, Rob, and then I'll.
Yeah, let's go back to this Philly game, John, because 4 starters are questionable, right? They're questioning whether or not they'll give Joel Embiid some rest. Ben Simmons still ill with whatever illness he has right now, question mark. Tobias Harris still questionable for this evening. Seth Curry added to the list. You got 4 starters with question marks next to them. So for Philly, we'll see what happens with the 5:30 injury report. I've got local stuff on here on a couple of monitors to see if I can get a read on who might play, who might not here this evening. But that would really be a huge, and obviously it's the reason for the movement in the line, right, John? I mean,
Yep.
Phoenix opened 1, which I didn't even think they would open a favorite, but I guess there was very, very early word that this might happen. So they opened that way, and then they get pushed all the way to 3.5. So, the market's going to react to what we find out as the next couple hours go by, and that's probably what I would do. Ben Simmons is not the only guy in the NBA the last 3-4 days that's been questionable due to illness. And just looking at the other guys around the league, generally speaking, it's been about a 2-game absence for these guys. So if Ben has what everybody else has going around, it could be a subtraction of him from the lineup here again tonight. Obviously, a big win for Philly the other night. And, you see quotes from Doc Rivers, who said, I need to figure out now how I'm going to play my guys the rest of the way so that we're ready for the playoffs. So load management's going to come into play with the Sixers from here on out, and they may be one of these. Again, we talk about it all the time, John. Late releases with the
Yep.
NBA because they force you into that. So the angle stands tall, but the personnel, I just don't know. So it's hard to figure which side would win, and even where total is concerned at this point in time, I'm not sure. I think without Embiid, Philadelphia tends to be much more of an under squad. So perhaps if Joel doesn't go, we can look that way. But again, we won't know for about an hour, at least earliest the 5:30 injury report, which comes up in about 25 minutes here on the East Coast. And, we'll go from there. Sometimes these things don't happen till tip-off, shoot around before the game. So we'll see.
It sounds good, Rob. I can't agree more. Just on when you hear the buzz, that I'll open it up to Greg here to make comment on the Sixers game. Now, Greg, you could actually hear what Rob was saying.
Yeah, I did hear what Rob was saying. Yeah,
Oh,
absolutely.
okay.
And I agree. It's very frustrating when you get like those late injury reports for sure. Sometimes, I mean, Clipper game a couple weeks ago, they had to scratch like and shoot around. So it's like totally destroys you when you're trying to bet pregame on some of these. So you got to definitely make sure you're on top of that stuff.
Yeah, I actually said on 2 shows
So
today,
it
Rob,
depends.
that
The defense
don't
is
make
good.
it. Yep. And I actually made the recommendation: don't even make a bet till after 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time until you know for sure what the heck's going on. But obviously, we have a ski prophet in the house. Hopefully, he can hear us.
Hey, how's it
Glad
going?
to have you on board. Rob was really disappointed you weren't on Monday or Tuesday because he wanted me to play the piano for you.
Well, I've been away. I kind of shattered my phone, so I got to get that figured out. I'm gonna go take care of it after I leave from with you guys.
Was that due to a
On
loss
purpose or an
or a
accident?
win? Yeah.
It was an accident, though. I'll say this time. Usually, I'm pretty good. I just happened to be too drunk and drop my phone somewhere.
Huh.
See, not only is he a great NBA handicapper, he's 100% transparent, honest. I mean, he could have described that situation anyway 100 times a Sunday, you know? But, yeah, that's, hopefully you get a new phone soon. And you don't have to sell the piano to get the phone.
I'll be back in business tomorrow. As soon as I hop off the show with you guys, I'm gonna go walk to the phone store.
Spend like 2 or 3 hours waiting.
Throughout the show here, Ski, if there's somebody you need to get a hold of that you haven't texted in a while, feel free to say whatever you need to say to your friends so that they know that it's phone related.
Everything's all good. I don't think I'm on a milk carton just yet.
Yeah. Well, anyway, we did this just now, and I'll see if you agree, because that's the NBA betting system of the day, Ski. But Rob had mentioned, and so did Greg, about the injuries, or not the injuries, just the unknown of who's going to play for the Sixers. There's, I think, 4 starters, if I'm not mistaken, that may or may not play. I gotta believe that this is the Suns, and they're fighting for the first seed. My gut tells me that they're all gonna play. Simmons didn't play last night or the night before. What do you think?
Well, I'll tell you, if they all play, I definitely like the Sixers. And even, I mean, we've seen it kind of all throughout the year, all throughout the season. When somebody's rolled out or whatever the case may be, and you get a big line move and everybody jumps one way, it's usually the overreaction. And like for today, it would say to bet the Sixers, just because everybody's probably running to the window to bet the Suns after hearing the injury report. So that's just how I feel about this game. It's not one that I'm going to get involved with, but if I did, I wouldn't be surprised to see the Sixers still cover.
Yeah, I personally like the Sixers. And it's not because of this betting system. That's just one factor. But I guess what I like most is Doc Rivers. He just makes the right moves, and I think tonight, no matter who plays, I think they take care of and they play very well at home. And for the last 3 seasons, they've been one of the best home teams in the NBA. So, there's a lot on the line. And I think we talked about this as well yesterday with Rob and myself. Phoenix is on one hell of a gauntlet right now. They played Milwaukee 2 nights ago, won in overtime. Day off. Now they got to play the Sixers. Day off. Then they got to go to Boston. 2 days off. They play the Brooklyn Nets. No days off. Back-to-back nights. Then they go to Madison Square Garden and take on the Knicks. And I think with a 3-point shooting team like the Suns, that you get into that back-to-back night with the Knicks and their 3-pointers are clanging off the front of the rim. That might be the first time I make an in-game bet based on an observation like that. Because that would tell me that the legs are just, shot. When 3-point attempts start falling short, it's usually because of legs.
Yeah.
But then it doesn't stop. They have to go home, day of rest, then they play the Clippers, day of rest, Utah. So can you think of any other team that's had to face seven playoff teams in consecutive order? It's the worst gauntlet I've ever remember.
Yeah, you could just chalk it up to this terrible NBA season and the condensing of the schedule. It's just terrible altogether. A lot of players don't even want to play. So thank the NBA for that.
One of the few mistakes that Adam Silver's probably made as commissioner. I mean, I shouldn't even say, but I was thinking of that Goodell guy. Can you imagine what the schedule would have been like if he would have been in charge of the NBA? It would have been wow. Let's move on. What do you guys want to look at next?
I can share some stuff or have some games I can talk about. Up to you guys.
All right, go ahead, Ski.
Yeah,
You lead the way.
Well, I'll share. I like mostly player props tonight, so I'll share those and maybe pitch a game to you guys about a side and see what you guys think about that.
Got it.
So the player props that I like for today, for one, he was a little bit cold yesterday or the past 2 games, but he's been over 3.5 3-pointers 6 of the last 8 games, and Minnesota is the worst 3-point defending team in the league over the last 10 games. So I like Buddy Hield to go over 3.5 3-pointers tonight. He averages about 10.4 3-point attempts, and I think he has a good shot with Fox banged up. So that's one there. I like Baisley for OKC over 15.5 points. You can go points or rebounds, but he's been scoring pretty good lately. He's had more than 16 his last 4 games. And going against Indiana, they're just defenseless. Like Miles Turner out of the lineup, the defense is absolutely shot. So I like him to go over 15.5 points, or you can play over 23.5 points and rebounds if that's available to you. I don't have points and rebounds available to me, so I just chose points. And the last prop that I want to share for today, actually Paul George got ruled out, so I don't like that one. I like Russell Westbrook over 12.5 rebounds. He's been pretty consistent with that. He's had more than 12, 15 of his last 19 games. And Warriors, they're pretty thin down low. So those are the props that I like. Lines that look fishy to me today. A lot of tickets, a lot of money coming in on the Knicks. And the line going towards the Hawks. I might want to take a look at the Hawks and the Nets. I think that the Nets are worthy of a shot at plus money. Let me just remind myself who they're playing. They're playing the Raptors, who haven't really looked like they cared majority of the season. Like you have to, if you tell me you have a read on the Raptors and when they care and when they don't, hey, I'll tip my cap to you. But I heard Fred VanVleet just kind of say the same thing I said about the season. Like nobody wants to play. It's a really unpure season, and I don't think that they're going to bring effort. So I like the Nets in that game too. What do you guys think about that?
Well, first of all, I want to welcome Tony Mahaya to the show for the first time, making his debut too. I think we just lost Greg somehow, but maybe he'll sign back on. But that's I think that's the second time this show has had 5 talking heads on at the same time, which is awesome.
What's going on, fellas?
How are you, Tone?
I got a haircut today, feeling spry, so much better than yesterday.
There you go.
Very nice. Very nice.
Yeah, he's looking radiant on the camera here for sure.
I was telling you, I was listening to your Raptors Nets thing. I'm all over that, except Kyrie could back out. So because Teddy was talking about that today, like he likes the better team. But if Kyrie plays, that'll be interesting because I think Van Vliet's going to be back, and Anobi's going to be back, and the Raptors have some desperation to them. But you're right, they haven't cared a lot of the season.
Yeah, it's tough for me to figure it out. What you think, Rob? You have a feel on the Raptors?
Well, I'll say this: the Raptors. I mean, I think I was on with maybe the Fridays that we do with Prez and Teddy Ski. Right? I think I went on there with Orlando. I think last Friday. Kind of pleading my case that Toronto didn't care, seen too many fourth quarter caves. And then they were actually within one game of Chicago for the final playoff spot, the 10 slot. And Zach LaVine is out for quite a while. And they were resting everybody. Nobody was playing. I think, this team doesn't even want to play the game. And they go out and they win. So I lose that bet. And then they rest everybody again. And they go out and win. And now they're in that 10 slot. And now everybody's coming back. Like Tony mentioned, it's Pascal Siakam's back tonight. Anunoby's back tonight. Lowry's back tonight. Fred VanVleet's back tonight. And now you think that maybe they do want to win. Now that they're there, I don't know. When you say, Ski, can you get a read on them? The answer is no. I have no clue what the philosophy is for that team as far as let's make the playoffs, let's not make the playoffs. But I'd have to believe that, the game before they rested Siakam and Anunoby, those two guys had played Friday night, and they combined for about 51 points, I think. They put forth a pretty good effort. So on the floor again tonight with VanVleet, I could almost see effort. The Nets are in a back-to-back situation here. Obviously, if Kyrie backs out, this line's going to move even more. So if you think that's even a thought, you probably should bet Toronto now before that happens. Otherwise, you're not getting the best of the number. But it is difficult to figure. I do think they'll have the better lineup on the floor because the Nets, again, tough game last night with New Orleans, right down to the very end, 134-129. And, Kyrie and his crew of a couple of regulars and a bunch of backups got it done. But can they do it again tonight? I'm not too sure. I didn't play the game, guys, but I think I could make a decent enough case for Toronto at this price. But the number has shot up a little bit. I don't know. I'm not comfortable laying it. I'm not comfortable taking it. So that was a long-winded answer of saying no real feel for the game.
It's okay to be long-winded. You said a lot of good things. Anybody else want to chime in on this game?
What do you guys think about that? That I don't think anybody liked the Hawks thing I said because nobody had anything to say about that one. Nobody wants to step in front of the Knicks, huh?
Not at this point. They've won 7 straight. To me, it's going to be interesting because it's the way Capella and John Collins manhandled the Magic last night on the boards. I don't think they're going to be able to do that against Noel and Randall. So I really like the under in this game. I think it's going to have playoff intensity. The Knicks are going to lock down at some point, and if shots aren't falling for the Hawks, the pace will probably slow up enough to where we get it. And the line ended up being 217.5, and I think it moved up. And at 217.5, that was the line that Atlanta and Orlando came in under rather easily last night. So it'll be interesting to see what happens there. And second night of a back-to-back for both.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing the Knicks are making this run. Not as amazing as the Oakland A's, though, but it's pretty close.
Let me say real quick, Ski, that Knicks first half, get in and get out, took a hit last night. I think they were like 37-12 first half, last 49 games. So potential to just knee-jerk, mechanically play Knicks first half is always available out there. There's a very, very short price tonight. Hawks, they played real well without the majority, 3 really good players for a while now. So with a day of rest, I could see them bringing effort here. Knicks on back-to-back. That makes it tough. But again, after taking that hit last night, Knicks first half, maybe you could win both. Knicks first half and Hawks full game. Who knows?
Well, no, the Hawks played last night, even though they played the Magic. They played last night.
That is true.
But and they got I mean, I think it's going to be interesting to see how this team takes to playoff intensity, considering it's not a team that's been in this seat at all. You know, it's been a bottom feeder, and now you've got expectations. You've got, you know, and once they get Gallinari back and some of those guys that are missing, but they're going to be relying on Bogdanovich and Herter and John Collins to really play roles that they haven't. Really interested to see what happens tonight, because if they step up on the second night of a back-to-back, that could really spur them forward.
You know what's big for them, Tone, is that they have Nate McMillan running the show where playoffs are concerned, you know, and a guy who's been there, done that, is certainly can. And they seem to be following. I mean, there was a little bit of turmoil before that head coaching switch, especially between your two stars. John Collins made a little bit of noise, though, within the last couple of days where this free agency period is coming up. And he basically pleaded to stay in Atlanta. And the other day I saw a quote from him that said, Atlanta really hasn't even talked to me about a contract, so maybe that says all I need to know. And I've seen the Mavericks name mentioned with him, a couple others. So not that he wouldn't play. I'm sure he's going to play hard the rest of the way out. But just interesting to see what John Collins mentally sort of thinks at this point in time.
I think him and Capella just overlap too much, and it's too much of an issue.
Yeah, Collins is a great player. No
Collins and Young kind of had some issues earlier in the season. Maybe they fixed it by now, but you never know.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah, I think Nate smoothed that all over, because before he got there, you're right, Ski, they weren't talking to each other. I remember one game, John Collins tried to go over to the sidelines and, you know, encouraged Trae Young, and Trae Young was having none of it. He turned the other way on him. So, but it seems to be pretty good right now.
Well, in this game, I'm going to, for the show purpose, I'm going to take the Hawks. And one of the reasons why, try not to fall asleep, you know, and Tony's being subjected to this for the first time, but remember we talked about the p-value when you compare parameters and stuff, and Tony Finn said, well, we can't call it that. It's not politically correct. So now it's the JR value. But in all seriousness, there's one here in the Knicks that is negative. They're 35-13 against the number, facing good offensive teams, scoring 106 or more points per game. One of the keys is 106 because it's back tested. You know, it's back filled to give you the good result, and it's run its course. So what the JR value is telling me right now is that actually 35-13 record for the Knicks actually supports the Hawks. So I hope that makes sense. I guess if I say it like on every show for the next 700 days, you know, it'll sink in, and I'll figure out a way to better say it too. But it's a contrary trend.
The one good thing about Knicks Hawks is, like, you know who's actually going to play tonight, and we're an hour and a half from tip-offs on a lot of these games. I'm waiting on Philly Phoenix. That's my best bet of the night, and I can't put it in because we don't know who's involved yet. Like I figured Embiid and I figured Simmons would be in, Harris would be out, and then Embiid pops up on the injury report. So you know, that's all over the place.
Did Tony see my NBA betting system of the day today?
Yeah, it was on the show.
Oh, actually, that's right. You run the show. See, I was going to show you again, but you know, I'm just really proud of that little slide I make every day.
Yeah, you like Philly, and that's the whole thing is like, all right, well, it's a good thing because I don't have an opinion on the game. I can see either team winning. I have an opinion on the total. But again, if the you know, it's a great note, but if you don't have Embiid in there, and Simmons sits out, you're trying to beat a very good Suns team with your backups.
And the crazy thing about it, guys, is that I'm looking at it right now. You're looking at 3.5, and as soon as those ins or outs come, that line is going one way or the other heavy. If Embiid and Simmons play, Philadelphia becomes the favorite in the game. That thing will move 6.5 points. If Embiid and Simmons don't play, Tobias Harris doesn't play, that thing will go from Phoenix 3.5 to Phoenix 8.5. So it's, you know, it's one of those deals again where you almost have to do guesswork. And like I was telling John, we're right here in the Philadelphia area. I've got local broadcasts on in front of me trying to figure out what's going on here, but Seth Curry made that injury list as well. 4 starters. It's difficult to play these things.
You know, that's a good point, Rob, because we both know some broadcasting talking heads that are really good contrarian indicators. And I'm saying that sarcastically, but it's true. Like, you know, especially when it has to do with the Eagles. You know, if they start leaning the one way that the coach needs to be fired and the quarterback sucks and all this stuff, then you know, especially if the Eagles are on the road, they're going to win. So we have that advantage over you guys in the West Coast.
I'm down in Orlando, so I get the Atlanta, Miami, Tampa Bay market for football.
You guys are lucky. You guys have plenty of options over there.
In Orlando or the East Coast?
East Coast in general. I feel like there's so many different options that even some of them I haven't heard about just because I'm over here, but I feel like I see a new one all the time.
Yeah, but this
Probably
time
true.
zone is brutal, Ski. This time zone is absolutely brutal.
To watch the games for sure.
Yeah, these baseball games don't end till 2 o'clock in the morning. on a
Especially
nightly
at our
basis.
age.
Well, I mean, I still stay up for them, but I mean, it's just hell getting up the next day. I mean, you put in about 4.5, 5 hours of sleep, and then you got to get right back going again. So, just not a firm opinion on that game. Greg, give us something, man. Give us something on that Atlanta Knicks game.
I don't know about the Atlanta Knicks game. Looking at the Pistons at Dallas tonight, +10. The line opened at 10s and moved to +10.5 now. I like them on the road. You have Plumlee back tonight, and it's just Dallas is just all over the place. You can't count on them, especially. I mean, that seems like a big spread. I haven't run my final numbers on that yet, but it's definitely one that I have my eye on for sure.
I'll back you up a little bit. I'll say that Dallas, at one point, earlier in the season, they had trouble defensively, and then they went on a stretch where they picked up their defense. We're kind of top 10 defensive rated team. They start winning, covering some games. Now, defense has regressed all the way back to worst in the league over the last 5. And until they start to be able to stop anybody, I'm not laying double digits with them. So I understand the play on the Pistons tonight.
Yeah, the Detroit is really competitive of late. I watched the Cleveland game the other night. Isaiah Stewart is a dog. I mean, he hunts rebounds. I know Plumlee's back tonight, so that means he'll be even fresher. The young point guard is going to be really special, I think. I forget his name right now, but he's out tonight, actually.
Killian Hayes?
Killian Hayes, yeah, he's going to be tremendous. But yeah, he's out tonight, and I think Corey Joseph is questionable, which would help out if you're riding Detroit, because I don't think Dennis Smith Jr. is playing.
And if you guys want another system, I know we all love systems, right? But this supports Detroit. You're gonna play against double-digit favorites that are coming off an upset loss as a home favorite. So it's an embarrassing loss. Hangover carries over to the next game, and that home favorite is now playing a team. Oh, I'm sorry. The home favorite has a win percentage of not higher than 60% of the season, and they're facing a horrible team, winning less than 40% of their games on the season over 25 years. This has hit 73% against the spread for a 36-11-1 against the spread record, and that supports Detroit.
So let me ask you a question with your systems. Do you think that a lot, especially the way that it seems like over the last, 8 years, lines have gotten a ton sharper, where before, if you bet underdogs, the assumption was you're betting favorites and these lines are inflated and bettors are too stupid to realize that. Bettors aren't stupid anymore. So like what do you weigh? Like what do you weigh historically? Like how far back do you go?
On this particular database, I can go back 25 years.
Right. So what about last decade? Like
I would have to rerun the query for that. But to your point, like the betting system of the day, I intentionally did the last 3 seasons because it's been the highest 3 years consecutive of scoring that we've seen, I guess, since probably the 70s when the ABA merger occurred.
Sure.
So, ironically too, I've talked about this with Rob. It seems like if you did a survey and asked people that are like the NBA, do you think we're scoring more points this season than any other season? And I bet 85% of the people would say, "Oh, absolutely."
Yeah.
Just look at the Nets and everything else. But it is exactly the same to a tenth of a point compared to last year at 111.7 versus 111.6. And I think 3 years ago was 110.9. So it's all clustered. But 4 years ago it was 106. So there was a big jump that year to the following year, and then it's been static. But I think what we have seen is a lot more totals that are in the 240 and higher range. That gives us the perception that the whole league is scoring more. But a friend of mine actually gave me. I mean, this is mind-boggling. If I get it out of my notebook here, I have it right here. This does not include yesterday's results. But if you bet totals this season of 215 and lower, and you bet the under, you would have gone 52 and 27.
Yep.
Over 235 and bet the over, you're hitting 67% at 44 and 22. So it probably historically will end up being an anomaly, but for this season, it's very real.
Yeah, that the under thing is monumental, just because you rarely see them 213 or lower now, and it's for a reason. And I mean, we'll start seeing them come playoffs. It'll be customary, especially once we get into series. But look what happened in Hornets Knicks last night. It was a 209, got to 208.5, ended up 208 with a 65-60 halftime score. Like it was absolutely ridiculous. But at some point, you expected that game to slow down into what was normal playoff intensity basketball a decade ago, and that's what Tibbs plays. So with totals, and I'm a big totals guy, I think it's the books trying to keep you off the stuff, trying to scare you off the stuff. Oh, that total is too low. Well, it'll go under. That total is too high. Well, it'll go over.
Yeah, it's definitely contrarian for sure. The public is probably betting games under 215. They're probably betting over. I'm pretty certain of that. But there hasn't been one game this year that's been under 200. There's been two games at 200.5 or 200.5. And that was both days, January 15th.
There's some games that are under 200.
Make it 240 in Golden State and Washington tonight.
And let me jump in real quick here and say just that, like Tony, I mean, 80% of my plays are totals. And generally speaking, I'm playing over. I'm not really searching to play unders. And what this year has brought more than ever, I've never done this before, but it's forced me to play more first half overs than ever. I mean, the first half overs seems to bring value in a lot of games where, and in fact, when you look at these guys, a lot of times you'll see, generally speaking, you see a first half that's totaled to better than 50% of what the game total is. And then there's other ones where they're totaled less than 50% of what the game total is, for whatever reason, whether it's just a bunch of numerical mathematics that the bookmakers arrive at these numbers, or whether there's some sort of shading going on that they feel they have to do. But I think when you're staring at 140 or two, last night, a great example, there were a couple of high games, right? The Nets, 235, I think, in that game, Brooklyn, and then the Kings, Timberwolves were 238.5, and played the Kings Wolves first half over.
That was easy money.
In a hurry. Yeah, it gets there in a hurry, and the second half stays under. The other game went the exact opposite way, right? The first half was only 116. The second half was insanely high scoring. But you got to kind of pick and choose your spots, but it really has forced me to play a lot of first half overs, especially in games where I think the teams want to come out of the chute and get the game wrapped up quickly. First half overs have helped. I've never done it before. to the point of Dallas, Detroit, real quick, just where personnel is concerned, Tim Hardaway Jr. is on the injured list, or on the injury list, as questionable tonight. Without him, Dallas, I mean, it's hard enough for them to find 3 scorers on any given night because either Hardaway or Porzingis disappears. Whichever one scores, the other one doesn't, and Luka's hung out to do it all himself. So Hardaway Jr. could be an important factor there. And for the Pistons, have the last 4 or 5 games, we've seen a game played and then load management for Jeremy Grant. Jeremy Grant getting load management this year, and then a game played by Jeremy Grant, and then a game off. Jeremy Grant's back. As was mentioned, Plumlee's back. And their head coach cannot praise Sadiq Bey and Isaiah Stewart any more than he's praised them last week. I mean, those look like 2 core building blocks for this team. And somebody on this panel said that they still give 48 minutes worth of effort every single night. And that's pretty interesting because it's, number one, it's true. But number 2, they're tied for the 3rd worst record in the NBA. 18 wins, along with Orlando at 18 wins. And it doesn't look like Detroit's really in search of that extra ping pong ball or that higher percentage of chance to get a better draft pick. They just are set on playing hard and attempting to win games right now.
I've still got to do my fan duels. Corey Joseph's in, and Saban Lee's going to back him up. So Saban Lee's pesky. You figure that those are the guys, along with Bay, that are going to chase Doncic on his step backs and all of that. So you guys have convinced me. I like Detroit. Give me
Who's in your lineup, Tony? If you're allowed to share it, if you want to share it, like who would be a player? For guys that are watching this show, they're trying to figure out who to do their lineups for tonight. Who would you say is a must-have?
Well, right now, I definitely think we're going to see a big night from Westbrook, but he's really overpriced. At 10,800. So I actually haven't done anything with my lineups. Normally, I have something by now. Obviously, you've got to have a Clipper in there because with no Kawhi and no Paul George, they're going to need a go-to scorer. Marcus Morris, I lost on a prop with him yesterday. I thought he'd get to 20. He was at 16 in the 4th and went scoreless in the 4th, so unfortunate for me there. I might go back to the well with Marcus Morris tonight. And I really like Terrence Mann because when Terrence Mann gets 30-plus minutes and gets in a flow, he goes from one role where he's, you guard the top perimeter guy to, all right, now you can score and kind of flourish, and he's going to be underpriced. So Terrence Mann would be my answer there as far as value.
Yeah, good deal. See, I would have never picked that guy. I'm good at DFS PGA, the little white ball that, Rob Vino, he says he's never heard of the game.
Yeah, I've heard of it. I'm no good at it, but I've heard of it.
And he's pretty close to that place called Marion, too, which held a U.S. Open not too long ago.
Yeah.
But
they come in and rent people's houses that week. People that own homes there get a pretty good buck for a week worth of moving out into a hotel. John, let me stick in here real quick, the Denver-Portland game, because I played Portland +2 earlier this morning. I mean, it was pretty widely known last night that this was going to be the game Damian Lillard returned for. Mm-hmm. And maybe I'm bashing my head against the brick wall because I went right to Twitter last night. Again, it was about 2 weeks ago when Damian Lillard started to complain that the Portland Trailblazers can't beat elite teams. And he listed them one right after the other. Got it handed to us, got it handed to us, got it handed to us, got it handed to us. And then last night, again, they've got a game just about in the bag, and they fall short against the Clippers. Now, tonight they're going to play another elite team in the West, the Denver Nuggets. But I'm going to take my shot here. I mean, I know it's back-to-backs with Portland. The 2 who played the most minutes last night were your 2 next best scorers, C.J. McCollum and Norman Powell, who's been a tremendous fit for the Portland Trailblazers. So they're going to have everybody here. Nurkic is coming back to play in this one. Full squad, mostly rested. I don't think that, when CJ and Norman Powell go 37 minutes, I don't think coming back the next night is too difficult for them. But I'm really going to, one more time, it worked the other night with Memphis, and I'm going to come back and fade the Denver Nuggets just because their point guard situation is so bad right now. Did it the other night with Memphis. And it was a game where Nikola Jokic had a huge edge because Valanciunas was ruled out. And if you remember right, John, on this show, we did talk about that. Game went from 3.5 all the way to 7.5, more than double the price. But there was no factoring in for the Ja Morant advantage over Facundo Campazzo, the only legitimate point guard, if you want to use the word legitimate as an adjective with him, on the on the other side. And in that game, Jokic went for 47, but the three guards for Memphis went for 85. And it winds up, it made me nervous because you take a dog into overtime and you're scared, of course, and you survive that overtime, but it winds up in a double overtime, and they wind up only losing by 2 and covering. Here tonight, the guards for Portland, and Ski, you'll love it. I know you already know it, and you know where I'm going, but they're so depth shy at guard that Denver put the ink to Austin Rivers. So now Austin Rivers is part of the Nuggets backcourt. There's such an advantage there, guys. And for Jokic to have to play man up with Nurkic, it's not as easy as it was the other night for him. So to me, +2 was a pretty good price. And again, I might be banging my head against a brick wall because maybe Portland just can't beat this level of team. Maybe they can't, but I think they still can, especially where the fundamentals are concerned here. So I like Portland. Plus, it's down to 1.5 now, but you might as well take money line at this point. I think you can get +105. So you're, 15 extra cents in exchange for 1.5 points. But I think Portland's going to get the job done here. The mismatch at the guard position, just to me, it fits Portland's MO. They want their guards. They want to be guard heavy scoring wise. They want to be quicker pace. So I'll give a shot to Portland here. Maybe they can beat one of these teams tonight.
I love the breakdown, Rob. It's always good.
Yeah, Nurkic gets up for Jokic, obviously, because they're friends and they were teammates, and Jokic essentially ran him out of town. So that's going to be a good matchup. And then, DFS wise, because you can't play Campazzo, Will Barton has really stepped up, and PJ Dozier has really stepped up. So that'll be interesting tonight. I'm with you though on Portland, Rob. So if we lose, we'll lose together.
Very nice.
I think I'll lean that way as well. Like Rob said, the mismatch at the guards. I know how much you love Austin Rivers, and you know how I feel about Campazzo defensively. So I think Portland should have success. And I just wanted to mention, you guys know I follow EuroLeague, so I want to say 2 things. One about this game, Campazzo played in EuroLeague. He played for Madrid and kind of kept the offense in check over there. He was okay to play in EuroLeague, but he's super small, as everybody's seen. It's another guy coming over from the EuroLeague who you're going to see in action, and it's a guy that I'm a lot higher on. He's going to play for the Brooklyn Nets. His name is Mike James, and he's a baller. He's a bucket. So when you see him in the lineup, just know he's going to get baskets. He should play. I think he's going to be official on Friday, and he's a bucket getter. He's a little bit small, but he's a basket. He was the MVP in EuroLeague last year.
It's been a while since he's been in the league, but he was a bucket in the league when he was here. So what do you make of the kid the Thunder signed? He's from like Argentina. I'll get you his name. He's coming over. He'll play like in a few minutes, in a few games. There's been some issue with him, but when Sam Presti comes in on somebody, he's got to be good. You must have seen him. So I'll get you the name. You guys can move on to something else, but I'll ask you about him in a second.
Yeah, Tone, help me real quick because where did Mike James play college ball? I remember him in college. You remember where he played college ball?
Was it Duquesne?
It might have been. I'm going to have to look him up because in college I remember him playing.
I think it was somewhere in Texas, maybe.
I thought so too, Ski, but I'll look it up here.
Lamar is where he finished. I think the other Mike James played at Duquesne, I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
Let's see.
I know for sure he's from Texas area. I want to say
Lamar's in Texas. It's Lamar.
Yeah, okay.
He started off at some Eastern Oregon, and then Eastern Arizona, and then Lamar 2010 to 2012. And then the Thunder kid I'm asking you about is here. I'll tell you right now. Gabriel Deck. He's from Argentina, and he just played in.
It sounds familiar for sure, but
He's
I
a
probably have
small
only seen him play
power
one time.
forward who played at Real Madrid last 3 years.
I probably just need to
I've
take
never
another
seen
look.
him.
I definitely remember hearing that name. I probably saw him play yesterday in the game. So I just maybe need to take another look. But he's coming to the Thunder now, you say?
Yeah, they bought him. They bought him out of Madrid, and then he signed a deal on April 12th.
Wow.
And he'll be here probably to get a look. Close out the season.
Well, I'll tell you one thing. If he played on the team this year, nobody left on that Madrid team is that good.
Oh, yeah.
So, I don't think any of those guys are going to have a significant impact.
I bet.
So
I
Greg,
got to start running, guys. But so I did tell John I wanted to talk about the Pacers and the Thunder total. Did you guys? It's 230. I know the Pacers don't play defense because they lost Miles Turner, but no Sabonis, and we have they didn't break 100 the last time, and the Thunder they can score, I guess, but I like the Baisley prop because I heard that coming in, but I can't see that getting to 230 either. If it's not competitive enough, it'll just be 115, 105, 100, that type of game. 230, it's almost like a trap line, but it was too low too high to resist.
Yeah, I agree with that, Tony. The betting flows are definitely it's chasing the over. I don't see any sign that it's a steam move or smart money at all. But it opened at 225.5, 230.5. Looks like it's going to go 231 like any second.
Well, I'll say without Sabonis, you're definitely missing some points, but without Miles Turner, man, they've been allowing over 125 points per game. So we'll see. I think the pace is what scares me the most. Both teams have been playing extremely fast. So kind of as Rob likes to say sometimes, it may be, or he says about the Warriors games, points may be always available in this game because of the pace.
Yeah, and I'm going to back you on that, Ski, because I don't dive too deep into analytics, but in my own personal box scores, I keep a number called potential points scored. If every single shot taken in the game went in the basket, how many points would have been scored in that game? And generally speaking, in an NBA game, on average, 465 is about the number. Indiana, of course, has been scoring like crazy up until that last game when Sabonis and Turner didn't play. I don't think Jeremy Lamb played either in that particular contest. But the point to this is that they played San Antonio in their last game that went under. And if every shot went in the basket, they would have scored 500 points. The pace was totally there. But the two teams combined to only make 40% of those shots, which is really low in an NBA game. So if those numbers even themselves out because of no defense, I would be with Ski a little bit. I'd be fearful that, 117, 114 could happen with these two teams just up and down the floor. There is no defense in the middle for either side, really, although Moses Brown has been pretty much a rebounding machine since inserted at center for OKC. And just interesting that OKC, as I look through my injury report here real quick, as soon as Lou Dort ran out and scored 80-plus points in 3 games, they grabbed him and put him right back on the bench next to Gilgeous-Alexander. And there is an example where you say to yourself, well, how bad does OKC want to win any games? Because here's a guy who is tearing it up right now, and they immediately yank him for, rest on a team that's, fourth worst record in the NBA. Or fifth worst record in the NBA. So I think points could be there. It's a matter of whether or not they make the shots. That's the challenge you have here. If they don't make shots, they ain't getting there. But I think the shots and the points will be available to get there. Put it that way.
I played it as a 2% play, so hopefully it gets there for me. I really appreciated the visit. I'll be sure to come back more often.
Yeah, it's great to have you on, Tony.
All right, guys.
Awesome, man.
Good luck, Tony.
I haven't met you before.
I'm Greg.
Greg's,
I'll follow you and I'll send you a DM. All right. Appreciate you guys.
All right,
Tony.
Take care, John.
Greg's a new discovery talent discovery. So he's been on twice on my shows one-on-one. He tolerated me pretty well. So I figured I'd bring him on the group scene here. And it's all good, man.
Another one of your titles now, John? Talent Scout?
I think I'm going to talk to Johnny about it. Talent Scout and all-purpose host.
I like it.
There you go.
Like I'm a utility infielder host. I think that sounds pretty good, actually. Like senior utility host.
Yeah,
So anytime you have a title of senior,
Right.
I mean, senior makes you sound, and I'm older than most, so I should be senior, right?
Yeah.
Who cares? But I do have a game here that's going to blow your mind, and this is from the machine learning apps, and that's what propels my premium plays. I have a 4%er under. I know I'm shaking already. Under Wizards, Warriors. Should I mute all your mics or what?
Oh, I thought you were going to give us a system with it.
Oh no, I can, but
Threw it out there.
I just think that we talked about that trend at 67% when the total is 235 and higher. So I just said that, and it sounded brilliant. So now I sound like a complete fool going against that trend. But at the same time, I think 67%, it's due to unwind. So that contributes about this much to my pick. But the machine learning says that both teams will not meet 111 points. And that's 222. It gives me 18 points of value. So what I'm thinking of doing, and if I'm right here, I'll never see 253 in game. I'll never see it. But this would be one of those strategies where I would bet under 252.5 in game. It has to happen in the first half, has to happen first. So ideally in the first quarter. If that happens, then I'm going to look to buy the over somewhere 224.5, 225. Give myself a real nice middle, and hopefully it hits. Now we did that, Rob, with the Lakers game, and neither one came up. So there's going to be games. There's going to be more games where the ranges that I'm playing against, it's like support and resistance on a stock chart, are not going to be hit. And I do calculate exact numbers, like the exact number on the total is 255. But much like the market, there's a saying, and I should tell this one to Steve Merrill because he says there's a lot of things that only financial guys can say. There is a saying that bulls make money, bears make money, and pigs get slaughtered. So this example, the number would be specifically 255 off the machine learning app. That is projecting what the highest in-game total could be for this matchup. You can't expect that to happen because that's the max expected. So you got to bring it in a little bit, 252.5, to give yourself a chance to get hit by that number. In the marketplace, you would be hitting the bid. So that's my play on this game. So it's leaning heavily on the under with a 4%, but I think I'm going to do like 25% pre-flop, and then I'll try these ranges.
Good stuff.
And you can't really do this kind of stuff with hockey. For some reason, there's just not enough points scored. But I'm being sarcastic. But in all honesty, that's the reason why I like the NBA, and especially with these totals that are up around 240, I start getting pretty psyched to start playing the in-game. The higher the total, the more attracted to the game I am because the volatility is going to be very high. And to be transparent, I said that I was going to play. I tweeted it. I took the Pelicans plus 4.5, a minute and a half. No, actually, it was 2 minutes and 10 seconds into the second half. The Nets had just run off 10 straight. And you guys know that's one of my little, call it an algorithm, call it whatever you want. If you're on a team and the opponent runs off 10 in a row, you should be looking to bet the in-game. And I did that, and I got plus 4.5. And last I checked, the Pelicans still lost by 5. And I checked it 3 times today to make sure that it was 5. But that's going to happen. I mean, At the time, I thought plus 4.5 was gold. I really, and the Nets were up 10. And I paid minus 105 VIG, and I was really happy with it until I saw the final score and that last free throw shot go in.
Well, last night, John, real quick to your point about in-game with your Washington Golden State. Last night, Minnesota Sacramento, 267.5 was available in-game in that game. The first quarter was so high scoring. Even at halftime, I think 267 was still available. And, of course, it stays under 267 in the end. So you may get the same type of thing out of Washington Golden State tonight. Like you say, those games lined at 240. You know, you get those big first halves, 135, 138 points, and you can pretty much come back the other way and make yourself a little bitter. Get yourself a huge middle, that's for sure.
Yeah, and that's what I'm trying to create. Of course, if I bet the under 25% of a normal bet pre-flop, and then I get that 252.5, I may resist the temptation to actually buy back until it does get below 225, if it ever would. But yeah, I mean, it teams like Sacramento, just make a list of the bad defensive teams, and the Nets included. And those are the ones that you want to try to fade in that first quarter. If the scoring is, I do it by minute. So if you're at almost 8 points per minute for a 3-minute span, believe me, you want to be definitely targeting the under live game in the first quarter, whenever that happens. So, Greg, do you have any specific game you want to target here?
I was actually just looking at running my formulas to see what the total would be for that game, but I don't have anything specific to target. I'm more of a numbers guy. I watch line moves a lot. I don't have a lot of the insight like you guys have in terms of all of the player personnel information, all that good stuff. I run numbers purely like on NBA, and then on like baseball, I know quite a bit about. Football is my primary thing. Hockey, I go off purely off money and line movements, and I do pretty well. And then NBA, I have formulas that I can use to calculate. And this year, I'm hitting around 59% in totals, and a lot of unders, actually, Rob. So it just depends, I guess. One team I never take unders on is the damn T-Wolves. It's like, they're either getting blown out and raining threes in the last 5 minutes, or it's at least a half a dozen times this year I've gotten burned on those guys. So I'm like, no more. Like last night, I calculated an under, and I'm like, there's no way in hell that thing's going under, especially with those guys. So, and like you said, it started out fast and furious, and the in-game total got way up there. So it's crazy. But, I try not to watch most of the games I do either. So
speaking of baseball,
I like the Yankees tonight.
I do too. I'm on the Yankees. What do you two guys think?
Well, Yankees did come through last night, right? I think Tony talked about that.
Yeah.
Yep.
Acuna Jr.'s out tonight.
Again.
Yeah.
I don't think
that abdominal deal is and I think Ski will know, because we're in a little chat room last night in Milwaukee with Corbin Burns. It's the second night in a row with Milwaukee on the 5-inning line with Woodruff and Burns. 2 nights in a row where they've cashed tickets against the Padres, and last night to boot. John, I don't remember if we mentioned it or not in closing on the show yesterday, but not only Fernando Tatis Jr. out of the lineup, but Manny Machado out of that lineup. Today they brought them both back. I'm looking here 2-1, bottom of the 5th. The night card is short here, right? There was a lot of day action.
Phillies won.
I didn't play anything tonight. I'm looking here to see if there's something I really can give the audience good advice on. And actually, I don't have a good opinion on what's left on this card. We'll see. I mean, you guys are on the Yankees, so I'll be rooting for the Yankees. Maybe
I like the Reds. I like the Cubs again at home.
I agree with the Cubs.
Home underdog.
Cubs been pretty solid versus lefties, or at least they've been winning. when those guys are on the mound. I like that game to go over. I know there's weather and wind concerns maybe a little bit, but I think as the night goes on, it's supposed to get a little bit better. And I think the Cubs will have success versus that left-handed pitcher there today. And I don't really trust the Cubs pitching or bullpen either. So I got over 7.5, and I think that's my look for the game.
Yeah, I like that idea too. And the one that's puzzling me, and I'm going to need your guys' help on this one, is I want to take Tampa Bay with Waka. And the betting flows have actually made me a little bit more confident with 54% of the tickets on Kansas City. And pitcher there is Junis against Tampa Bay, who's now counting for 62% of the money. So I like that little crossover there. And it's essentially, depending on what book you're looking at, it's essentially a pick'em game. That's the part that bothers me because I think Tampa Bay, if they were priced at minus 130, I probably would have bet it by now. But that line is kind of like is telling me something. Like, what is wrong with this? Like taking Tampa Bay just doesn't feel like the right bet.
Well, Junis has been pitching really well, and in his career against the A's, he's 4-1 with a 2.28 ERA in 5 games with 4 starts. And their stats, otherwise, team-wise, match up pretty evenly. Their batting average and their team ERA is pretty solid. So, since Waka's 1-1 and it's got that 4.8 ERA over 15 innings, it's probably the reason why that number is low.
Hey, you guys, I'm gonna leave it to you. I kind of got to run to the store before they close on me again.
Get that phone, man.
I want a phone tomorrow, so I'm gonna head out.
All right,
we're probably going to wrap it up here anyway, Ski. It's good to have you on board all the time. I
take care, buddy.
Can't wait to play that piano, man. I'm telling you, you're going to like how I play.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure one day we'll make it happen.
You're gonna tell your friends, look at this old guy play. Look at this old guy play.
I'm sure it'll be awesome.
You can have a little cup on top for your tips.
Yeah. A paper cup. You don't show anything too rich because then people don't put as much money in it.
That's right.
No, Ski, you have a good night and good luck with your bets. And maybe we'll see you tomorrow night or Friday for sure.
All right, cool. Yeah, good luck to you guys too. And I should have a phone, so you can just hit me up, and I'll probably join tomorrow too.
All right,
you got it.
Right.
Thanks, Ski. Have a good night. So I guess let's go around the horn here, and Rob's in the middle, so we'll start with Rob's best bet. Greg, you are allowed to do 2, but 1 is acceptable. So
I'll be
Rob's.
quick too, John. I'll be quick because I talked about it before, so I won't spend any length. But I do think Portland is the right side tonight. I'm gonna probably play against Denver in these situations that match up favorably from a fundamental standpoint both ways. Tonight, I think the biggest difference for me, not only am I betting against the Denver backcourt, which is shy, and especially at point guard, I've said it before, but the 4 guys that they relied on for ball handling 3 weeks ago, Gary Harris Jr., Jamal Murray, and Monte Morris, those 3 guys are gone right now. 1 traded, 1 hurt pretty badly, and 1 hurt, and we don't know when he's coming back. And it leaves you with Campazzo to play point guard for minutes that he hasn't been asked to play all season long. The backcourt depth is shy anyway. Portland's loaded in the backcourt. But the biggest key, like I say, is the fact that Jokic just shouldn't have as easy a day as he had against Memphis the other day without Valanciunas. It's a good matchup in the middle. Give me Portland. They haven't beaten elite teams. I'm, putting my hands together, good Catholic, praying that we do the right thing here with Portland. They finally get one of these wins against an elite team. Plus 1.5 points here.
Sounds
Great
good.
stuff. And Greg, your best bet. And while he's doing that, Rob, if you don't mind looking up what the Sixers injury report looks like right now, because that might change my best bet. But anyway, the floor is yours, Greg.
So I like the Pistons and the Mavericks under the total tonight. It moved from 219.5 all the way down to 216.5. But I think that they'll still – Detroit's they don't have much offense. And there's a lot of money, actually some steam moves on the under still in that range. So I like that one a lot. I also like the Nets and the Raptors to go over the total. And that opened at 228.5. It's now at 230. I like that one as well. My numbers have them going over as well. So I think those two total plays are my two best ones that I have going on tonight.
Awesome.
And John, I'm looking right here. You're staring at 4 game time decisions right now. Seth Curry, Joel Embiid, Tobias Harris, and Ben Simmons.
You're almost going to have your TV on and watch the pregame and then be able to get your bet in.
Is there any betting line that 3 of the 4 will play, or 2 of the 4 will play, or Tobias Harris and Embiid will play? I'm surprised there isn't.
Your guess at which combination is as good as mine. And, to your point, Greg, you're right. I mean, we get Sixers pregame here at 6:30, 35 minutes before tip-off, but it's hard to recommend to clients. I mean, we can do it for personal betting.
Absolutely.
As far as recommending to clients, 20 minutes before
there's nothing you
tip-off,
can do there.
It's about impossible. There's just nothing you can do. And that's the bind that the NBA puts you in nowadays, is you just don't – so many games you just don't know.
I mean, Embiid, Harris, Simmons, and Curry are all questionable. There's no movement on that at all. I don't see anything that's updated either.
Yeah, because just nobody – I guess you got to be courtside right now with a mic in your hand, and then you'll know.
Well, it's like the biggest game of the night, too, though. You get like top team in the West versus top team in the East.
Right.
And then they're playing games with the freaking lineup, So as far as like.
It could be a little posturing, too, by Doc Rivers, I suspect.
What the problem with it is, guys, is that the rule in the NBA, the rest rule, which San Antonio got fined for last week, and somebody else got fined.
And still won by 26.
And still crushed Phoenix in that game. The rest rule is funny because if you're the home team, you're allowed to put 3 guys on the bench just for load management rest. You can't do that if you're the road team, which is really a weird – I don't know how they collectively bargained that into the agreement, but it just seems strange that if you're at home, you can sit 3 legitimately with no fine. So Doc Rivers could put 3 of these guys on the bench and list them just as rest, and the 4th guy, knee, hip, thigh, whatever you want to choose.
I just don't know why you would. I don't know why you would do that, though. I mean, I know it's like, they're a half a game up on Brooklyn, and they have a chance to get a little bit further ahead with Durant and Harden out. They can create a little space finally, and maybe get closer to I mean, there's only 13, 14 regular season games left. So I mean, you'd think everyone would count at this point, right?
Yep.
And with Phoenix, too, they're a game and a half behind Utah for the number 1 slot in the West. So, they're going to bring 48 minutes worth of – and they had a night off last night. So, you would hope to get a really good game, everybody present. But, if you paid for tickets tonight to go to Wells Fargo, you might be disappointed.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, I'm going to be bold, guys. I just did this while you were talking at MGM. Okay. Plus 140 on the money line, 50% on my regular bet. And then in game, I depending on what these results are and who's playing, maybe I'll scale something in game because what I'm betting is that not all 4 of those guys are going to be out. That's my assumption, and I know you never assume anything because I know how people break down that word, but it just seems like like you guys described it perfectly. It's unlikely that either of these teams is going to just throw this game away. Phoenix has Boston coming up, then the Nets, then the Knicks, then the Clippers, then the Jazz. They can't afford to throw a game away, and neither can the Sixers. No. So at plus 140, I'm willing to take a shot and have egg on my face and watch the Sixers lose by 30. To me, it's worth it. But the game I really like is the under Washington Golden State game. So I'm going to do the following: 33% under 240.5 current line, and then I'll add a 33% under 252.5 in game. That is only valid for the first half. If we don't get to 252.5, the in-game bets are done for the night on that game. If it does hit and I get under 252.5 for 33% of my regular bet, I'll look to buy the over at 224.5 for the remaining 33% and hopefully try to middle it. So that's it.
Sounds like a plan.
And it's a plan, and I think in all seriousness, Rob's heard me say it, that to go into a game and not have a plan and try to bet in game is where you get in trouble. We've heard nightmares of people. They bet a full size bet, and then it goes against them, and they go, "Oh, I'll fix this. I'm going to double up," and then they go down by more. Oh, there's no way the Lakers are going to lose by this much, so they double up. And before you know it, they've lost 10 units in one game, and that's when the girlfriend or the wife probably isn't too happy either. So,
I never press. I never press.
If no way. I
budget up pre-game, then that's just I live with it. I'm like, I can't double down on this because I was wrong the first time. Don't want to make it worse. It's just one game, just going on to the next one.
The only press I like doing, and I know Rob probably hasn't heard of this, but it's in golf, and you can play match play with your friends, right? And the deal is $5 Nassau. So if you get down 2, you can say it's an automatic press. So then there's another bet. You get down another 2, there's another bet. But if you recover 2, it also forces another bet. And it can get pretty, $5 Nassau can get a little costly.
Yeah, I bet.
But that's the only time I feel comfortable pressing.
Well, you're betting on your own talent.
There you go.
Or you're hoping the other duo that you're playing with is gonna, fall upon hard times and hit a lot of balls out of bounds. It's either one or the other. But anyway, thanks guys for being on the show, Greg. It was great having you on board. Rob, as always, he hasn't missed a show yet. So for Greg, Rob, and myself, may all the wins be yours.
I appreciate it, guys. Have a good night.